My name's Jeff. Welcome back to our morning show, the Daybreak Show. Glad to have on the phone with us Chuck Snyder, the chief of the fire department here in Rehoboth Beach. Good morning, Chuck. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing fine.
Good. Thank you. Well, Chuck, we want to talk about a few things. First of all, I have to say a huge thank you to you, your entire volunteer fire department, all of the EMS crew here, the police department, and all of our first responders here in the Sussex County area, and a big thank you to you all for what you do year-round, but especially now during this pandemic.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we wanted to start off with all of us have seen photos that were taken of the fire, the aftermath in Dewey last Thursday night. What can you tell us about maybe what you saw when you first arrived and the efforts to stop that blaze? And the great job that you and the other responding departments did in preventing the spread.
Well, when I arrived, the building was pretty well involved. The biggest concern at the time, being as the police officer said that there was nobody in it or around it, was the Hyatt Place building next to it. We instructed the apparatus to come in. Take a defensive position. That means don't send anybody in the building. Just shortly after I did arrive, it did collapse into just a big pile of rubble. So basically it was a surround and drown and put what was left out. Okay. There was no extension into the Hyatt Place. It was held to the building of origin. It was going well enough when we got there that there was really nothing we were going to do to save any part of it.
Sure. Have you heard, or has the state fire marshal released a potential cause yet?
I have not heard anything.
Okay. Well, so for those that are not familiar with the Rehoboth Beach Fire Department, if you could tell us a little bit about it. You're a volunteer staff, and then I believe you work with a paid EMS crew as well that responds to calls.
Yeah, we're a 100% volunteer company. Been in existence over 100 years. We supplement our EMS with a career staff of 15. We've seen the need for this several years ago as the volunteers no longer had the time to go out and handle the ambulance calls because of the influx that was starting to happen because of the amount of people starting to come into the area. We've got about 60 members on the roll. We run 3 stations. We share a station with Lewis out on Route 24. And we provide fire and EMS coverage to a fire district, not just the city of Rehoboth. Our district goes from Route 24 south to the inlet and west over to Angola. However, a large area of our district is water, as you know, with Rehoboth Bay.
Sure. And about how many fire EMS calls does your station handle a year?
Last year, if memory serves me correctly, probably about 4,500 EMS and about 900 what we would call fire calls.
Wow, that sounds like quite a bit. I wouldn't think that, but that's incredible. That's great. I want to read a letter that you wrote that's getting a lot of posting on social media and discussion, where you modified the dispatch procedure for the Rehoboth Beach Fire Company. You wrote this back on April the 5th, that as of April the 6th, on or about 8 o'clock, Rehoboth Center is to only dispatch the Rehoboth Beach Volunteer Fire Company to all fire and emergency calls in our fire district. There will be no more multiple company dispatches on the initial dispatch. If we require assistance, our officer in charge will notify the Rehoboth Center who's to dispatch to assist us. This is a temporary procedure until further notice. We appreciate all the help that you provided and hope this will continue. If you wish to take us off of assisting you on multiple company responses, we do understand. Please stay healthy and safe. Charles H. Snyder, the fire chief here in Rehoboth Beach. First off, can you explain to our listeners what it might mean that might not understand some of the fire-related terms as to what caused you to reduce the initial assignment on many of these calls in the area?
Well, we don't run a lot of multiple call dispatches. What that is I put that in place because of the current pandemic that is going on. I felt in my mind, and trying to follow some of the federal, state, and local guidelines for social distancing and the things that are, as you know, are going on right now.
Sure.
A lot of times when we run those dispatches, probably 75–80% of the time, if not more, you get turned around or it's not needed. And I felt it just would be a little bit safer for our membership that if we kept it to the initial dispatch to ourselves and protect the people from possible exposure from other folks that we really don't know, where they've been or what's going on with them. So my folks have been real good about heeding the warnings and doing the things that need to be done. We communicate with them usually every week to try and give them updates as we get them. This has been a fluid situation for quite a while. We are on several phone calls a week getting updates on what is happening and what is going on, and then we take that information and pass it out to our membership. And when I say our membership, I include our career folks too. Our career folks are a very active part of this because they're the ones actually going out and meeting anybody who has a possible COVID case, particularly with all the ambulance runs. So that's why I did it. I did it to look out in the best interest of our membership, that hopefully we would not have any further exposures from folks we didn't need to if we didn't have to be together.
And was this the first fire, the Lighthouse Restaurant fire, that this new policy was used?
I believe so, yes.
And one of the things that people are saying online is that the fire, let's just say this particular fire, Rehoboth responded, and then you did ask for more units from other areas to be called in, and then that response is usually around, 5 to 10 minutes before they arrive?
I can't answer that, but yeah, there's a time factor. You got companies coming from, or units coming from Lewis, and units coming from Bethany Beach. There's going to be a travel time, yes.
Sure. And in this case, of course, it didn't matter. As you mentioned, the fire was already, very bad when you arrived, and you really couldn't do anything except to protect the areas around it. Do you see this new policy possibly affecting other future fires where it might hinder the fact that that there is an active fire, yet waiting until you arrive to call for other cities to respond?
No, I think we're providing good coverage to the Rehoboth Beach Fire Company District. We had over 40 members of our own show up that night. We were there in a very timely fashion. No, I don't see that as a potential problem.
And have to your knowledge, any other Southern Delaware fire companies released a similar type of memorandum?
I really don't know what the other fire companies are doing now.
Okay. And, out of curiosity, were the mayor or other officials in the area consulted when you did this?
No.
Okay. I'm looking here. I've got some questions that other people have submitted that I'm wanting to ask here. So this one says, so per your letter, it says that all calls would be single company dispatch. Would this include water rescues? And this question comes because they're saying that Rehoboth Beach doesn't have the fire boats that, say, Indian River or the Bethany Fire Department have for what could be a water rescue.
Yes, right now it is on a single company response. Our experience is probably over 90% of the water rescue calls we go to either turn out to be nothing or somebody is already there taking care of it. So again, we're on a single company response from that, but again, just a radio call away brings whoever else we need to put on the call. And again, that officer has that right to go ahead en route or whatever to dispatch other companies as he seems fit.
And you've been involved, as a fire officer for, over 20 years?
I've probably been a fire officer in this department for at least 25, if not 30.
Okay, so let's say 30 years. Has there ever been a similar, like, reduced response to this, or this is
Sure. When I first started, we were the only ones who responded. You didn't call for help unless you needed it.
And so now that's the case again, basically because of for the safety of your officers and for the people that might be on the fire scene itself. And
yeah, if we need help, yes, we call additional manpower in, yes.
So this policy is strictly a temporary policy during the pandemic to protect your officers and those involved on the fire scene, correct?
Yes, it's going to be temporary right now.
Okay, very good. Well, Chuck, anything you'd like to add in closing?
Nope. Not bad.
Again, thank you very much for coming, and thank you for all that you and all of our first responders do, not just here in southern Delaware or Rehoboth Beach, but across the country, and difficult times dealing with this pandemic. Just a big thank you to all of you. Keep up the good work, and of course, please stay safe.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.